Hey, good evening, guys. Just going to wait a little bit, about a minute, before we get started. There's going to be a lot to talk about, some revealing information that I've been able to come across through reading the latest files of the FBI's investigation into Saudi financing to two Al Qaeda operatives called Operation Encore. So just give it a minute here. Sore. I went to the gym today. I'm going to be doing a 30-day workout regimen where every other day I'll do hard weights and then the next day cardio. And I'm going to do that for 30 days, no rest. Uh, See what happens. That's what I'm going to do. So, yeah, this is going to be something else. Look, you probably have not been paying up to date regarding the latest cache dumps of Operation Encore because there's a lot to go over. In fact, I thought, there was only 500 pages. To my surprise, there was 2,600 additional pages. Just tells you that, just when you think you knew something, you don't know anything really, right? So what I'm going to share with you tonight is going to be um, uh, firsthand because the media is not reporting on it, and very few people know about it. In fact, I even reached out to the 9/11 lawyers, Creedler and Motley Rice, who are representing the 9/11 victims' families regarding their suit against the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And so they knew about it, and I'm not shocked at it. But to the average public who don't got the time to read 2,600 files, well, I'm going to read you a part of it because the other night I read about 180 pages. And what I found initially from the first cache was unbelievable. And I'm going to share that with you tonight. Everything that I'm going to share with you is actually in the link in the description that I'll be sharing underneath the video here, and you could read it for yourself. Now, the files are indeed redacted, but they are declassified. But we have enough information here that basically shows, without a shadow of a doubt, that there were Saudi government officials helping Saudi officials inside the United States funding and logistically supporting two known Al Qaeda operatives, Khalid al Mihdhar and Nawaf al Hazmi, who were involved with the 9/11 attacks. But that's not all. I have so much more to share with you tonight, and so let's get started. The file I'm going to be reading to you from is most of it is redacted, but it's coming out of New York counterterrorism. This is New York field office dated October 26, 2007. The category is labeled full investigation. And this is actually from Operation Encore, which is basically a follow up to the Pent Bomb investigation. Um, Enclosed within this file are the photographs of Khalid bin Atash, Omar al-Bayoumi, and Anwar al-Laki. The information that is being provided in this file comes from a confidential human source. So if you hear me say CHS, it means confidential human source. That means somebody that was intimately involved with the Saudi officials in Los Angeles. This is where most of the information is arising from. Um, could identify positively and could relate uh, oral information that he heard over the phone or in person. Now, this is basically a debrief of the FBI in New York with this confidential human source. And not just the FBI out of New York, but also to the Joint Terrorism Task Force. And so here we go. The information is concerning Los Angeles and the King Fahd Mosque. And information provided the following. In response to their request, Fahad al-Thumairy, who is the imam at the King Fahd Mosque, was sent to be the head imam at the King Fahd Mosque. Although the request for an imam appears to have been channeled through the Saudi Arabian government, it is unclear at this point the exact succession of events. To facilitate al-Thumairy's entry into the United States, because he was in Saudi Arabia at the time, Al-Thumairy was designated an Islamic affairs attaché in the consulate of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in Los Angeles, California, by the Ministry of Islamic Affairs Office of the Embassy of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in Washington, D.C. Now, the person who was running the Foreign Affairs Ministry in Washington, D.C. was Musaed al-Jarrah. His name is redacted in this report, but there are other unredactions showing his name. You'll just have to find it in the file. There's 247 pages, but I'm not going to read all 247 pages. I'm going to read about 6. By the latter half of 1999, CHS advised that the King Fahd Mosque and its members had started to become more radical. Al-Thumairy had brought another imam. Now, this name was not publicly known. This is for the first time we're hearing it. Mohamed al-Muhanna, who, according to CHS, was extremely radical in his religious views. Around the same time, the end of 1999, he's talking about December of 99, the King Fahd Mosque received a phone call from an individual in Malaysia. Now, in less than a week, what happens in January of 2000 in Malaysia? There is a high-level Al-Qaeda summit meeting. And who is attending this meeting? Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, Ramzi bin Al-Shib, Ridwan Isabuddin, who goes by the name Degwar Hambali, Khalid al-Midar, Nawaf al-Hazmi, his brother Salim al-Hazmi, Fahad al-Kuso, Wali bin Atash. All top leading officials in Al-Qaeda that the CIA and the NSA knew were at this meeting. So just keep that in mind, that whoever was calling, we don't know the person, whoever was calling the King Fahd Mosque was calling in December of 99. Now, this is unbelievable. Now, what does he say? The caller wanted to speak with Fahad al-Thumairy. This phone call was regarding the imminent arrival of two brothers who needed their assistance. Now, he's not talking about literal brothers. He's talking about Islamic brothers. Well, who are the two people that will come to the United States in January 15th of 2000 to Los Angeles? Khalid al-Midar and Nawaf al-Hazmi. For the first time for the public record, we now can show that the Saudi consular official heading as an imam at the King Fahd Mosque, who lied to the FBI, who lied to the 9/11 Commission about never meeting Khalid al-Midar and Nawaf al-Hazmi, this confidential source can pinpoint these two men to Fahad al-Thumairy without a shadow of a doubt. And not only that, that he knew they were coming inside the United States even before the meeting even took place in Malaysia. And this is stunning how this is not even front page news, is unbelievable, because now we have evidence that the Saudi government at some level were providing assistance, logistical, financial support to two Al-Qaeda operatives. Remember, the CIA said that these two men were Al-Qaeda officials in the 90s. And where did they get that information from? Saudi Arabia themselves. That's why they were following these people. Why didn't they share that with the FBI? That's another question. I'll continue. CHS advised that al-Hazmi and al-Midar were picked up from the airport by an individual that CHS called the blank. Now, I'm going to tell you who that is. Although, according to CHS, this individual was blank, but merely an individual when asked by al-Thumairy would provide transportation or perform other small tasks for individuals visiting the mosque. Now, the person's name that is redacted in this report is Khalid Benamarine. Now, if you've heard that name before, it's because I mentioned him a couple of times in certain videos I made in the past. He's actually a cab driver. Now, I'm going to read you a part. This is separate from the file. I'm going to read you a part that I clipped out of Khalid Benamarine's interview with the FBI after the 9/11 attacks. So here's what the FBI report said. When asked by investigators who else knew about the two Saudis Benamarine replied that no one at the King Fahd Mosque knew about them and that he was told by Sheikh Fahad al-Thumairy to keep the presence of the two Saudis to himself. Benamarine did say that the Saudi consulate knew about the two Saudis because it was the consulate that told Sheikh Fahad al-Thumairy to take care of the Saudis. Now, this interview was before Operation Encore because this is December of 2001 when the FBI interviewed him. So it lines up with the latest revelations of Operation Encore. I'll continue. Benamarine was told by Sheikh Fahad al-Thumairy that the Saudis were here to see their sick father. Benamarine said the Saudis stayed in Los Angeles for approximately 1 month and then they returned to Saudi Arabia, which was a lie. When asked if Benamarine knew for a fact that they returned to Saudi Arabia, he replied no, that he was just told that they left Los Angeles, which they didn't. They went to San Diego. During the interview, Benamarine was shown photographs of all the hijackers and numerous photographs of unrelated individuals, 30 photographs in general. Benamarine looked at all the photographs carefully and placed all the photographs in a pile on the left side of the desk. When he viewed the photographs of Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi, he put them to the right. In other words, the people that he picked up at the airport under the direction of Fahad al-Thumairy, who was getting his directions from Musaed al-Jarrah, the U.S. Saudi Minister Consul of Affairs in Washington, D.C., were Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen, a high-ranking Saudi government official who hired Fahad al-Thumairy, who was his director and manager, who basically told a Tunisian cab driver to pick up two Saudis, who got a phone call a week in advance about the arrival of these two men, who were at a high-level al-Qaeda summit in Malaysia, were coming to the United States. There is no doubt now. That means the Saudis can't make excuses. I'll continue with the file. That was all for the Benamarine interview. Prior to the arrival of al-Hazmi and al-Mihdhar, Fahad al-Thumairy provided blank their flight information. That's Khalid Benamarine. Picked al-Hazmi and al-Mihdhar up from the airport and brought them to the King Fahd Mosque where they first met al-Thumairy. Now, there's a long blank, and then it says, during al-Hazmi and al-Mihdhar's time in Los Angeles, blank was asked by al-Thumairy to provide assistance to them, whatever capacity they should need it. That's Khalid Benamarine. According to CHS, members of the King Fahd Mosque would often use the Mediterranean restaurant and a nearby Starbucks coffee near the mosque as meeting places. Blank showing al-Hazmi and al-Mihdhar the location of Mediterranean restaurant. See recent interview of blank by the FBI New York office. CHS did not have a clear understanding of al-Hazmi and al-Mihdhar's progression from Los Angeles to San Diego, nor the reason behind such a move. CHS positively identified the individual in the second photo as someone who has been to Los Angeles in 2001. The photograph is Khalid bin Attash, Walid bin Attash. That is unfucking believable. I'm sorry to curse, but when I read that, I was in shock. And for those who don't know, Walid bin Attash was a visitor to the United States. This stuff was redacted. It was never known before. Now it is. So he's visited, I'm sorry, not 2001, but in 2000 and 1999. Now this, of course, what happens in the year 2000, October 2000, the bombing of the USS Cole. So you're telling me Walid bin Attash, nicknamed Khalid, visited the United States, and not just the United States, but the King Fahd Mosque. Here we have a high-ranking al-Qaeda facilitator, operator, and financier visiting the United States. This is unbelievable. It really is. It's incredible. I'll continue. CHS positively identified the individual in the third photograph as Omar al-Bayoumi. CHS stated that Omar al-Bayoumi was at the King Fahd Mosque every Friday for prayers, adding that Omar al-Bayoumi and Fahad al-Thumairy were acquaintances. CHS advised that al-Thumairy asked al-Bayoumi to take care of Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi. by name. Bayoumi was with al-Hazmi and al-Midar on multiple occasions while al-Hazmi and al-Midar were living in Los Angeles. You know why this is huge? Because when Omar al-Bayoumi was interviewed by the FBI and the 9/11 Commission, he stated flat out he never, ever met Khalid al-Midar and Nawaf al-Hazmi after he met them at the Mediterranean Cafe. That he never gave them any logistical or financial support. He lied. Al-Bayoumi and al-Hazmi and al-Midar were together at the Mediterranean Cafe, a restaurant, and also at the Starbucks coffee. Why is that big? Because according to Omar al-Bayoumi's interview with the 9/11 Commission, he said that Khalid al-Midar and Nawaf al-Hazmi were already at the restaurant. Well, according to Qassam Bindan, who is the associate with Omar al-Bayoumi, he said that they went into the restaurant and in walked in Khalid al-Midar and Nawaf al-Hazmi, and Omar al-Bayoumi introduced himself to them. Why did he lie about that? Because, now we don't have information, direct information, but according to Qassam Bindan, before they drove to the restaurant, they actually drove to the King Fahd Mosque where Omar al-Bayoumi and Fahad al-Thumairy had a discussion for close to an hour. Omar al-Bayoumi came out and said that Fahad al-Thumairy told him that they needed to go to a halal restaurant. Well, the only halal restaurant on Culver City, which is a town in Los Angeles, was the Mediterranean restaurant. Put two and two together. CHS positively identified the individual in the fourth photograph as Anwar al-Laki. CHS advised that Fahad al-Thumairy also asked al-Laki to assist Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Midar while they moved to San Diego. So not only do we now have direct connection between Saudi consular officials and two al-Qaeda operatives in Los Angeles, but now we can connect them to San Diego. As you can see, the pieces are falling. We have a connection now that keeps going. Maybe in time, we could connect further and further. And that was the first 4 pages of that cachet. And up until this point, all this information I just told you was not known to the public. And with this latest declassification dump, which came at the end of last year, nobody's talking about it. Nobody. And I'm sorry to say, I'm probably one of the only people to actually do videos upon this. And I think that's a crime because this is unreal because the Obama administration, the Biden administration, and the Bush administration were doing what? Well, they're preventing the 9/11 victims' families from suing the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. While this information's out there showing complicity, at least complicity with funding al-Qaeda operatives, known al-Qaeda operatives. The only thing missing was their full knowledge of the attacks. That's it. And I just, it boggles my mind that I hear people say, hey, we need a new investigation. Hey, we need new information. Well, here it is. Here it is. And I'm not even done. That's just 4 pages. There's 283 pages in this one cachet. Now, if you go after this video, if you go to the link in the description, you'll notice that if you follow that link, it will lead you to the FBI vaults. And if it doesn't, go to FBI vaults and type in executive order. I think it's 14040, something like that. And it will show you the rest of the cachet. And I think it's approximately 2,600 pages. I mean, what's in those pages? I don't know because I haven't read all of them. And, I'll read you a couple more clips I learned in this, 180 pages I've read so far. And what I want to read next is remarkable because it was never known to the public. So Musaed al-Jarrah, whose name was redacted by the FBI and then suddenly unredacted due to a clinical error, thank you. Musaed al-Jarrah, now this is from the files on the same link. Musaed al-Jarrah dealt with Khalil with regard to building and management of the King Fahd Mosque in Los Angeles. Khalil is an associate of Fahad al-Thumairy. Al-Jarrah was very close to him and coordinated everything through him with regards to the mosque and the EKSA. Now, the EKSA is the I'm sorry, the EKSA is the Islamic Institute of Arabic and Islamic Studies. It was, I'm sorry, no, that's the EKSA is the Embassy of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The Islamic Institute of Arabic Studies is the IASA, which was funded by the EKSA in Riyadh. So there's another link. So we have a government institution in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, funding an institution in Saudi Arabia, I mean, in Los Angeles, which is basically being used as a springboard for some of these Saudi officials who are funding Al Qaeda operatives. And like I said before, the connections are starting to stick. Al-Jarrah was stopped and helped in secondary inspection at JFK Airport on January 21st of 2004, the day before 16 Saudis were detained by the federal government and the FBI and questioned for their information regarding maybe foreknowledge about two Al Qaeda operatives, but they didn't say anything and they had to let them go because there was no crime. But imagine this, came about. Well, this was actually 2016, so much years later, so they couldn't hold them. Al-Jarrah had basically, and I'll there's a lot here, so I'm basically going to sum it up. So Musaed al-Jarrah, who's a high-ranking Saudi U.S. official working in Washington, D.C., who's now currently in Saudi Arabia, Riyadh, who is a Ministry of Saudi Affairs, who actually hired these two imams, Fahad al-Thumairy and Mohamed al-Munra, who basically started preaching this anti-vitriol against, this anti-imperialist West, anti-Israeli sentiment that wasn't there at the mosque originally. It's almost like they're setting up, these people to become radicalized and then used for a terrorist operation to be taken advantage for a greater geopolitical purpose. You understand? So, and that's just, that's what I think is happening here. There's no evidence for it, but I think it's rational to basically speculate on that. Nevertheless, he hires these Saudi officials. They come to the United States and they basically are aware that Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi were going to go to this meeting in Malaysia and then come to the United States, and they were ordered to basically provide assistance. Now, whoever that caller was in Malaysia, we don't know, but he actually was calling Fahad al-Thumairy in Los Angeles to help facilitate the finances and provide logistical support, housing, and whatnot to Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi. Now, a part of this FBI report, I'm going to read to you. It says details on 2010 joint blank source was debriefed by the FBI. This is coming from another human source, different than the original. Of Operation Encore subject Musaed al-Jarrah. Al-Jarrah used to work in the Islamic Affairs Department in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia Embassy in Washington, D.C. Al-Jarrah was in direct contact with Fahad al-Thumairy, previously the imam at the King Fahd Mosque in California. During their time in the United States, al-Thumairy was described as being knowledgeable and smart, and that he did not appear to be extremist. However, according to the members of the mosque, he was highly extremist. However, al-Thumairy did help to bring a more radical individual in the mosque named Mohamed al-Muhanna in late 2000, and Mohamed al-Muhanna was an administrative officer at the Saudi Arabian consulate in Los Angeles, also a close associate of Fahad al-Thumairy. Blank recognized photographs of Operation Encore subjects. Now, these two names were never known before. And so what I'm going to read you, these two names, it's first time public source. Now, Operation Encore subjects Adel al-Sadhan and Mutiab al-Sudari, but he was unable to recall their names. Blank stated that al-Sadhan and al-Sudari worked for Musaed al-Jarrah, and Blank believes they spoke English well during the 2000 timeframe. There were several Saudi males like al-Sadhan and al-Sudari who would travel to California periodically. Many of them would go to camps in Arizona. Some of them came directly from Saudi Arabia, while others came from other locations within the United States. Blank estimated that there were approximately 17 individuals in this group assisting Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi. Unreal. Blank, most knowledgeable about al-Sahand and al-Sudari and al-Jarrah and their associates during this time frame. There were other individuals in Southern California coinciding with events surrounding other hijackers that were with Nawaf al-Hazmi, Khalid al-Mihdhar later. So that would mean Hani Hanjour. Because Hani Hanjour, in another FBI report that I read, actually helped Omar al-Bayoumi move in 2001. Omar al-Bayoumi actually relocated to the United Kingdom. And after 9/11, he was actually detained. I actually did a video regarding what authorities found in his residence in the United Kingdom, including a notebook with plain operational directions, guidelines, altitudes, speeds, and Washington, D.C. And we know what happened in Washington, D.C., right? The hijacking of Flight 77 that crashed in the Pentagon. Who was on that plane? Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi. Amazing. It's just amazing. Now, note. It says note. According to this I-94 record, Abdullah al-Jathrahin, whose citizenship was of Saudi Arabia, continued to Los Angeles, listing Holiday Inn as his intended destination. Al-Jathrahin and Operation Encore subject Omar al-Bayoumi checked into a Travelodge hotel together in Culver City, California on December 20th, 1999, and checked out the next day. This Travelodge hotel was repeatedly often used by the King Fahd Mosque to house visitors. To date, no departure information has been located for al-Jathrahin. No further evidence of his presence in the United States or overseas exists. It is possible that Abdullah al-Jathrahin is a fictitious name. Now, that would make sense because whoever brought al-Bayoumi into the United States in 1999 didn't want to be known because you have plausible deniability. Hey, we're going to bring this operative come into the country that's going to help two al-Qaeda operatives do a terrorist attack inside the United States. I think you would want to disassociate yourself from that as well. I mean, what I just told you is remarkable. This is just incredible. So now what we have is basically other Saudi operatives whose names were redacted for years have now been unredacted and worked in Saudi government offices in the United States, in Saudi Arabia. These aren't just like, just ignorant Saudis on the streets and, they don't know any better. No, these are Saudi officials. And it's not just one, it's not just two. We have 17. One or two is an anomaly. 17 is a pattern. And, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia basically said for years that they were not involved in any way in the attacks. Now, I'm not saying that the king, which would have been King Fahd at the time, had any foreknowledge of the attacks. Now, you remember, you always got to have plausible deniability. Hey, something may happen, but you don't want to know the details because you might slip up. You're a public figure. No, the people who know the details are not public figures, so they won't slip up. And we could play conspiracy games and speculate whether the people who had intimate knowledge, were killed. So they won't talk ever. And that would make sense. But here we have so many officials that provided logistical support to two al-Qaeda operatives. I mean, it's a foregone conclusion. This is it. Let me see if I could pull up another page in the file where Musaed al-Jarrah and his connections to international terrorism. Now, when I read this, I couldn't believe it. I mean, I shouldn't be this shocked at it, but Musaed al-Jarrah is a U.S. and Saudi government official who works inside the United States at a Saudi government foreign affairs office. And during this investigation with the FBI, it proves that Musaed al-Jarrah was actively engaging in international terrorism by recruiting Al-Qaeda and Al-Qaeda affiliates inside the United States. Now, if you go to page 44, I think it's 44 of this file that you'll see in your in the description, you'll basically read this information. So I'm going to read part of it to you. Okay, so there's a big redaction, and then it says al-Jarrah may be actively trying to bring other Saudi Sunni Salafi extremists into the United States through his position at the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia Foreign Affairs Office in Washington, D.C. I mean, that's right under the government's nose. Al-Jarrah's official responsibilities are to manage and control all assignments of Saudi imams and clerics inside the United States and facilitate the issuance of diplomatic visas to these individuals. Why is this huge? Because in 2000, in late 2000, in summer of 2001, who comes to the United States? All the members of the 9/11 operatives, the hijackers, the muscle hijackers, the pilot hijackers. Who issues their visas? Well, we do know it's Shayna Steiger. I did a podcast based on this episode, and so did the young kids Ben and Eric in Podcast for New American Century. Go listen to that too. And basically, no one's talking about this stuff. I mean, very few people I've known over the years. Robbie Martin, John Gold. Very few people have reported on this. This is gigantic because now we could connect a Saudi official to that too, if that's the case, because she authorized the approval of 12 applications belonging to the 9/11 hijackers. And what this report is saying is that Musaed al-Jarrah also facilitates the issuance of diplomatic visas to these individuals. Did the order come from him? I'll keep reading. Saudi imams who are assigned to the United States through this process report to al-Jarrah, and he serves as the coordinator of their activity while they're inside the United States. So that means whatever imams, these radical clerics, these radical individuals from groups like Al-Qaeda, Abu Sayyaf, not Jemaah Islamiyah, who's an Al-Qaeda affiliate in Indonesia. You know, they're bringing people inside the United States. And he's coordinating this? Al-Jarrah is purposely selecting Saudi Salafi extremists to be assigned to the United States. Long blank. I'm not shocked at that. Al-Jarrah travels in and around the United States, visiting the Saudi imams under his control. It should be noted that al-Jarrah is listed as an accountant for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia on the U.S. Department of State's diplomats list. Oh, God. Holy shit. What a fucking punch. I mean, now we could probably sniff and say, hey, wait a minute, did the federal government may at some level know what this guy was doing? I'm not, I'm speculating there. Okay. I'm speculating. But that's incredible. And I'll read it again. Al-Jarrah travels in and around the United States, assisting the imams under his control that he brings in. It should be noted that Al-Jarrah is listed as an accountant for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia at the Foreign Affairs Office on the U.S. Department of State diplomats list. And of course, underneath that is a huge redaction. So, and that's the end of that page. Now, that is unbelievable. Just incredible. And to think that this guy is a Saudi government official working inside the United States, facilitating people like Fahad al-Thumairy, Omar al-Bayoumi, Mohamed al-Munra, Saeed al-Adel, the other guy's name I forgot. And they coordinated the arrival of Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi. And I mean, really, I hate to harp on it. I mean, I'm speechless. I'm speechless that nobody is talking about this. This is incredible. And here's a direct connection. Now, I know why the media is not reporting it, because they act as an arm or an extension of the State Department, right? They're the spokesman, and they don't report the news. And of course, the fringe conspiracy, the rational conspiracy theorists, well, they don't believe in hijackers. So they're not going to read any of this stuff. And it's a shame because, here, God's sakes, you want a conspiracy? It's right here. It's right here. Oh, this is it could give you agita. I mean, really, it's amazing. Yeah, you know what? I'm just reading your comments now. I'm sorry if I'm reading my documents. I cannot read the comment section. I'm sorry. Said al Jarrah. No relation to Ziad al-Jarrah. That's his name right there. So, and I clipped out a couple of other links because basically we could show other connections to other Saudis who were at the mosque. And there's one file that says Omar al-Bayoumi becomes Khalid al-Midar and Nawaf al-Hazmi's co-signers on the apartment that they rent in the Parkwood Apartments. And I'll read you the file. It says, initially, Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Midar came to the rental office of the Parkwood apartment complex with an unknown Middle Eastern male looking for a 2-bedroom apartment at the end of January 2000. Well, that unknown person was Omar al-Bayoumi. Because al-Hazmi and al-Midar did not speak English well, they needed someone to interpret it for them. Blank believed that this unknown male was employed by Alliant University in San Diego as an aide or counselor in the International Studies Department, and his name was Omar al-Bayoumi. Al-Hazmi and al-Midar wanted to move into the apartment the same day that they walked into the rental office. However, Blank advised them that they needed a co-signer, a guarantor, and a bank statement showing that they had enough assets to pay for the rent. Now, I want to make something clear, right? If Al-Qaeda planned the 9/11 operation, they sent these two guys in. Well, if they sent these two guys in with barely any money and no type of real bank records or fake bank records or fake IDs, that means they couldn't rent an apartment and basically, establish themselves as a presence and wherever they live, right? So in other words, what I'm trying to get at, and this is speculation, is that they knew that there was going to be people assisting these guys. Now, with the latest revelation I just told you about the phone call from Malaysia, well, that's true. It's no longer speculation. But the only speculation is that they knew it was going to be these two guys were going to be involved with the 9/11 attacks. We don't know that for sure yet. But everything else is now public. And you don't have to speculate. It's now for the public record. This is it. There is no question that Saudi government officials, and there were plenty of them, helped to facilitate the arrival of Khalid al-Midar and Nawaf al-Hazmi, knowing that they're al-Qaeda operatives, to come into the United States and give them housing. And I'll read you the rest of this document. Since al-Hazmi and al-Midar did not have a credit history, they were staying with Omar al-Bayoumi because they came into the country, and al-Bayoumi emphasized that he would be the co-signer and act as the guarantor. Now, according to Omar al-Bayoumi, he told the FBI, I like to help Arabs all the time. Really? When do you know about a guy that, basically don't know two people from a hole in the wall and provides them 2 months' rent because that's what he paid for? And not only that, paid for their rent afterwards through his bank account. And by the way, he was an employee of a Saudi government program called Avco International, Avco, and also Saudi Arabian Air National Transportation, which is basically a government official building in Saudi Arabia, which he was employed for 30 years. That information was classified for years, but in the previous video I made about reading the initial pages of Encore, I mentioned this, and I mentioned also that the person who hired Omar al-Bayoumi in that position had a CD-ROM of a son, that he has a son, and on the CD-ROM were the passports of his son, Khalid al-Midar, Nawaf al-Hazmi, Salim al-Hazmi, and Abdulaziz al-Amari, who were all hijackers of the 9/11 operation. It's unbelievable. So there you have it. Um, and there's so much more. I can basically read off these files, but it would take me God knows how many hours showing you that there's people who are vouching for these people, who are assisting financially. And even what's even more fascinating is that in the FBI reports of Operation Encore that I'm reading to you, they're even saying that Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi, that the Saudi government did not know they were coming to the United States and help them financially and logistically. Their excuse was Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi came to the United States and basically took advantage of the kindness of these people. I'm not lying to you. It's in there. And I'll read you a part where it says that. It's on page 48. It says exploitation of Muslim community. Exploitation. Blank other individuals associated with Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi during this time in Southern California believed that the two hijackers must have been given tazkiyah prior to arriving in the United States. Tazkiyah is generally defined as a recommendation or voucher depending on the context. And that Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi took advantage of the kindness of the people at the mosque. Really? What a stretch. I'm not buying that one. I'm sorry. Yeah, I think these people definitely knew what they were there for. They definitely knew they were coming to the United States and basically provided all the logistics support, funding, financing, and basically got them situated in Los Angeles before they moved to San Diego and lived with an FBI informant whose code name was Stan, whose real name is Abdussadah Sheikh, who basically didn't tell the FBI that these two men were basically trying to train at flight schools. I mean, for those who don't know, Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi were supposed to be the hijackers, the pilot hijackers of Flight 77. But because they were poor in English and they didn't go to English class, Hani Hanjour arrived in California in the year 2000 and basically became their replacement. I mean, it's stunning, right? So, and basically, the two guys, Al Sudan and I forgot the other guy's name. They basically acted as emissaries for Musaed al-Jarrah. So, in other words, Musaed al-Jarrah can't be in all places at once. So Musaed al-Jarrah designated these two guys, who were not known to the public, basically watching over this operation of Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi and reporting back to Musaed al-Jarrah. Now, to show you a direct connection of al-Sudari and al-Sahan, we're going to read a part of this consistent phone call from Omar al-Bayoumi and Musaed al-Jarrah and Fahad al-Thumairy. And I closed out that window by accident, as you heard the closing window sound. I didn't mean to do that, but I will. Okay, I found it. Thank goodness. Okay, so the file goes like this, and I'll read you the following. The significance of this 3-day-long heightened contact remains unclear. However, a few items seems apparent. Fahad al-Thumairy was part of a Saudi-based network operating out of the embassy and distributes funds and supports to extremists. It appears in some cases terrorist organizations like al-Qaeda. There were inexplicable, at least currently, telephonic connections between Fahad al-Thumairy, Musaed al-Jarrah, and Omar al-Bayoumi regarding the arrival of al-Mihdhar and al-Hazmi. And basically, in the month of January, phone calls from this confidential human source. When Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi arrived in Los Angeles, there were over 17 phone calls between Musaed al-Jarrah, Fahad al-Thumairy, and Omar al-Bayoumi. After that, when they relocated to San Diego, there was no more calls between Musaed al-Jarrah, Fahad al-Thumairy, and Omar al-Bayoumi, according to the confidential human source who is part of the King Fahd Mosque. Ladies and gentlemen, I beg you, this is tremendous news, and don't let it go to waste, because what you just learned tonight, if you had not known about this, is basically that um, if you wanted to open up your own case, you basically could. But like I said, there are two law firms, Creedler and Creedler and Motley Rice, who are actively engaging in a civil suit with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So let's see how that goes. And I'm currently still reading 2,200 more pages, and that's going to take a little bit of time. I'm trying to read as fast as I can regarding this information. And basically, what I'll do is 18 people. Wow, I'm surprised. I'm very humbled by that. But this is huge, huge news. I mean, this is tremendous. If you have questions, I will entertain them if you have any. Um, so I will see if I have any. There is a question. Oh, all right. Adam Fitzgerald, do you know about the hundreds of MEK, which is Iranian group, loosely affiliated, that were deported in the weeks after 9/11 from LA, funded by Saudis, used by Israel CIA MEK? I am not familiar with that, and I will tell you. Who are you again? Statlion. If you can actually send me a link to, and please make it as specific. I want a direct source. I would love to look that over. I've not heard about that actually. So yeah, MAK is actually an instigator to the Iranian Persian secular government, secular acts of the government. I've tried looking for articles and haven't found, but looking. Yeah, MEK is insane. They're nuts. But yeah, that's an interesting tidbit. I have not known about that. Pure Palm, you said the Florida Bulldog is an article regarding the narrative from September 11, 2021. I believe Florida Bulldog has worked closely with R. Martin. Oh, Robbie Martin, the Anthrax. Listen, for those people who are not familiar with Florida Bulldog, I've interviewed Dan Christensen, who runs Florida Bulldog, on my podcast, and they are, without question, invaluable. I cannot thank them enough. In the same way as Paul Thompson and the historycommons.com, Florida Bulldog has been unbelievable, just unbelievable. Adam, can you restate the news headline, please? I just arrived. Oh, the news headline is regarding the latest declassification under the Biden administration of December of 2021 regarding the FBI's Operation Encore. User, I just put in a link in the bottom of the description, and when I'm done, that link will guide you to the files that I'm currently reading. Let's go Biden. Well, I mean, I'm not going to root just because he did something right. I'm not. He did one thing right and got like dozens of things wrong. I'm not cheering yet. So, and I don't vote, so I don't care left and right either way. I think they're all criminals. Fire Pixie, give me about an hour and a half, and I'll have a great question put together for you. I don't got that much. In fact, I'm surprised there's this many people that lasted 45 minutes. But you can always ask me, Fire Pixie, in Twitter. I'm always accessible there if you have a question. So I try to be accessible all the times to anyone at any time, even late hours. I stay up late because I know that, when I first started, I didn't have anybody to turn to either for information. And I want to be that person to help people regarding, you probably have questions, and I'm hoping I have answers and I could be an assist to you. That's what I try to do with my channel and, being accessible at all hours. What are some thoughts on Nick Berg? Oh my goodness. Well, that's a big can of worms, there, Bird Word List. Yeah, Nick Berg. What can I say about this? Look, regarding Israeli signals intelligence, yeah, I mean, there is some information regarding, the various bombings that were happening in Pennsylvania. In fact, a fantastic co-researcher, DJ Thermal Detonator, he's actually doing a film based upon Nick Berg, and God's sakes, um, I can't wait for that. Basically, um, that's going to come out. I don't know when it's going to come out, but he's, geez, I can't wait for this. Um, I'm in Oklahoma, so Nick Berg story is big to me. Yeah, it's a huge story. I mean, he's allegedly killed by allegedly Abu Musab al-Zarqawi, who was later the leader of the Islamic State uh, in Iraq, and which was basically Al Qaeda in Iraq initially. Um, Adam is really great for assists, friends. I've had an obscure question regarding a CNN transcript a few months ago, and was back at me within documents in mere moment. Well, I try. Thank you, Pure Palm. Yeah, I try as fast as I can. I try because I know your time's limited too, and I try to entertain any question or statement and try to provide prima facie documents. I don't like. I hate speculating. I really do because I want my audience to come away with information and not believing stuff. I don't want you to believe something. I want you to know something. And if you hear me constantly saying that, my whole channel is based on that. But we're at the 51-minute mark, and that's all for I got. And listen, there's so much more, and I'm sure I'm going to be doing more videos in the future regarding the latest information. What do you think? One last question. What do you think the mysterious art students were all about? User, I did a live video discussion about the urban moving system in Israeli intelligence. Go look at that, and it's about 2 hours. There's a lot in there I covered, and I did cover the art student ring, and I did cover the urban moving system, the moving companies ring, all Israeli intelligence. And I wanted to do a separate video on that because it's such a obscure and very taboo subject, and very, very maligned with fringe conspiracies. And I believe that to be the case to basically um, um, degrade or devalue adequate and real researchers who are investigating Israel's role with 9/11. So, and it's unfortunate because Israel there's very few information regarding a connection to the 9/11 attacks, but there's a lot of smoke with that fire. So, in other words, they weren't just some idiots celebrating the attacks. They weren't just here conducting intelligence information, signals intelligence about Hamas and Hezbollah and Al Qaeda. These guys probably knew a lot more than that, but we'll never know because we deported all of them. So I will end it at that. And like I said before, the information I'm providing with you is shared with you in the description. Also, if it doesn't bring you to the original link, what I want you to do is listen. Just listen to me. Just Google FBI Vault and look up Operation Encore. So FBI Vault Operation Encore, and it will take you to the FBI website where the latest, I think it's 2,600 pages. It could be a little bit less, maybe a little bit more. I think it's 2,600 pages of the latest declassification of these redacted files of the FBI's investigation into the financing and logistical support to Al Qaeda operatives inside the United States by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And so, hey, listen, thank you very much for coming tonight. I really hope you have a great week. And, I hope what you got from this video was information that you weren't privy to, and you learned a lot better tonight than you did before I started the stream. And I hope it's helpful to you. And so, like I said, too, I'm still reading these files, and I'll do daily videos, or a video every other day. And I'll try to keep you updated as best as possible. And if you reach out to me on Twitter, _ Adam Fitzgerald, but just put the _ Adam Fitzgerald. You can find me there. And also, if you Google my name, Adam Fitzgerald 9/11, I come right up. And if you go to Twitter, I have a pinned tweet with all my information there and links to the, other areas as well. And if you want to email me, and I never made this public before, but if you want to email me, you can. It's adamfitz1969 at hotmail.com. And if you have questions, or maybe you have information that I don't know, please share it with me, because I'm learning just like you. I'm not smarter than you, and I'm not an expert. We're all students in this together, and we're all learning every other day. And so have a great night, and I'll see you in the next video.